At this time, citizens may address the board. The microphones are open for public comment to those who have signed in prior to the session. Each statement may be made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. The total time of public comment shall be limited to 60 minutes. No individual is able to yield their time to another individual. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. Each speaker shall comply in all respects with Board Policy 9322. Copies were provided next to the sign-in sheet. The following rules shall apply. Time limits will be strictly enforced. No personal attacks on individuals or naming of individuals. No vulgar or indecent language. A person may address the board no more than once during a single meeting. Comments will not be debated. Any person in violation of this policy will be warned and their comments terminated if needed. As a reminder, this is a meeting of the board in public, not a meeting of the public. At this time, I call Evelyn Diaz to the mic.
I can start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Evelyn Diaz. I stand before you today not just as a grieving parent, but as the voice for every child who has ever felt invisible and for every parent who has felt unheard. My son Daniel had a heart full of dreams and a spirit that could light up a room. Yet, he faced a system that couldn't see his potential and failed him. Now he's gone. It is not just about him. It's about the children just like him. Our children spend years in schools, growing and learning. We trust these institutions to guide them, to nurture their talents, and to help them grow into confident adults. Yet, the system does far from that. Children are not just numbers or statistics. They are our future. Individuals with unique or special needs are too often unheard, mistreated, intimidated, talked down to, and penalized by a system is supposed to help, but instead treats them like they are less than human, and that's unimportant. I am here today to speak up and demand realistic solutions for our children and staff. We must all come together and build a safe space for them to grow in regardless of status, disability, color, race, or race. Now question, if it was your child, would you let this happen to them? I had to bury mine just at 14 years old. No parent should ever have to bury their child. Therefore, any system serving children with special needs must ensure that the individuals it employs to work with these children are properly hired and trained. We love our children just as you love yours, and just as you care for your children, Elizabeth School District should provide the same level of care for our children while they are in your custody during school hours, because for them, school is their second home. We all need to come together and make this happen. Let me remind you, I don't get to see my child grow. I don't get to experience life with him. I don't get to see him get married. I don't get to see him have grandchildren, give me grandchildren. It is so hard to even breathe, eat, sleep, think, have a normal life every day, knowing my child is forever gone. How many more children have to suffer for change to be made and for children to be loved and heard? Justice for Daniel Spencer Diaz.
Thank you, Ms. Diaz. And as we have before, our condolences. Thank you. Katia Fajardo?
Mi nombre es Katia Fajardo y vengo esta noche a compartir con ustedes mi experiencia.
Ms.
con el
Fajardo, do you need a translator?
Please.
I'm going to ask Mr. Cortez.
Mr. Cortez, can you translate for us, please? Thank you. Señora Fajardo, un momento, por
Ok.
favor. Just take a minute to explain. Yeah, thank you.
Mi nombre es Katia Fajardo y vengo esta noche a compartir con ustedes mi experiencia con el equipo de estudio de mi hijo en la reunión del IP.
She's here to discuss her experience with when she, in her meeting regarding her IEP, her son's IEP.
Mi hijo asiste a la Escuela 22 en su programa de niños superdotados y talentosos.
My son attends School 22, gifted and talented.
Liam tiene 8 años y ha tenido un IP desde que salió de intervención temprana.
My son is 8 years old, and he has had an IEP since he was 8 years old.
El pasado jueves tuvimos una reunión del IP donde se violaron los derechos parentales.
Last Thursday, she had a meeting, an IEP meeting, where her rights were violated.
En esta reunión, una de las evaluaciones se realizó 2 días antes a la reunión y se me presentó dicha evaluación en el momento de la reunión.
¿Me repite esto otra vez?
Una evaluación se realizó 2 días antes y se me entregó en el momento de la reunión.
The evaluation was done 2 days prior to the meeting, and it was given to her the day of the meeting. Would you like us to interpret?
Sigue.
En el momento y se me presentó dicha evaluación negándome la oportunidad de participar de manera significativa al no poder revisar la información.
So mom says that she wasn't able to participate because she didn't get the information on time.
El equipo decidió que debido a las buenas notas de mi hijo y las pruebas selectivas que se realizaron, él ya no clasificaba para un IP.
The team said that based on his exams and his grades, that he really doesn't qualify.
Y la señorita Luzki me informó que los servicios de su IP serían retirados inmediatamente en el momento.
Looks like the lead member of the team said that her services will be terminated effective immediately.
El viernes se me entregó la notificación previa por escrito y el lunes solicité una mediación.
Repíteme eso.
El viernes se me integró la notificación previa por escrito y el lunes solicité una mediación.
So she received notification on Friday, and ¿cómo fue?
El lunes solicité la mediación.
And on Monday, she's asking for mediation.
Ya han pasado 3 días en los que a mi hijo se le ha negado transporte y servicios.
Her son has been denied transportation and services for the past 3 days.
A pesar de haber enviado correos electrónicos solicitando que se restablezcan los servicios, mientras estamos bajo la protección de permanencia de Stay Put.
So tú mandaste un email para los servicios.
Claro, porque estamos en yo puse una mediación.
Okay, sigue.
a pesar de haber enviado correos electrónicos solicitando que se restablezcan los servicios mientras estamos bajo la protección de permanencia.
Okay, she sent an email asking that the services be reinstated.
Y tengo entendido que bajo el stay put nada puede cambiar.
And she's under the impression that under stay put, that nothing should change at this moment.
Y este no parece ser el caso, ya que me han dicho que no habrá apoyo en clase, ni terapia, ni transporte. Mi hijo no tiene nada actualmente.
Okay. At this moment, he doesn't have any services at all.
No se ha restablecido nada.
Nothing has been reestablished.
Y ha sido una dificultad extrema para llevar a mi hijo a la escuela y no se está cumpliendo con el estado de permanencia
She's
por
had
la
a
mediación.
she's had a very difficult time getting her son to come back to school.
Yo exijo que los servicios de mi hijo se restablezcan porque estamos en un proceso de permanencia, de stay put, y tengo derecho a que él permanezca con su servicio.
She's asking for the services to be reinstated under stay put
Mientras que lleguemos a un acuerdo en la mediación o si es necesario un proceso legal debido.
until we come to agreement based on mediation or any other legal agreement.
Ok, gracias.
Gracias. Señora Cedeño, ¿está atrás de usted para poder hablar con usted y para nosotros de poder ayudar? Gracias. Next speaker will be Diana Talbor.
Hi, my name is Diana Tabor, and I just want to say that we are deeply, deeply upset about what has happened, and it is not accidental. This is the system that you guys have aided and abetted, and that's why this happened. To begin, we have a student that suffered something tragic. Imagine this. Imagine you thinking that IEPs are something that's optional. It's not optional. It's a requirement, and this was negligent. There are things that shouldn't be happening, but are happening within this system. He was failed by a chain of decisions, by policies, by negligence. The system did not even look at him. They overlooked him and they pushed him out. You can't play this off as a student who simply fell through the cracks when you all left the door open. This is not a tragedy. It is more than that. This is a failure with a paper trail. If you ask anyone in the city what's the biggest malpractice to exist domestically, they're not going to tell you city things for the ones that are running for council, in case you want to know. They're going to tell you things that are in action for the Board of Education. Your inaction speaks louder than the responses that you give during this Board of Education and the responses that you ever will. So let's stop calling this a mistake when you treat the situation as damage control after. You pull students to the side, you pull parents to the side after they speak, but you don't do anything. You pull them away to make it seem like you're giving them a solution, but you're just leading them towards silence. An IEP is federal law, not a suggestion, not a guideline. It's something that you follow, but you only follow it when it's convenient. It's a legal obligation to protect the child, and you broke it. Educators in this meeting did not do what they were supposed to. No child should ever feel that they are not listened to in a room. So what happened as a result? A tragedy. And security guards just watched. Because from where we're standing, it looks like your responsibility ends in the classroom door. It ends once you prepare students for the SAT and NJSLA. You only care about reaping the benefits our bright students bring, but not the damages that you cause. The students will never get to graduate who go through things, because I've known people personally that have also committed suicide due to the negligence of the Board of Education for the past years. Students will never get to experience the beautiful things that lie once you leave this poisonous city that we call Elizabeth. Elizabeth Public Schools are so toxic and venomous, and everybody that sits in the Board of Education refuses to see it. You cling onto your students like ticks, and all the trauma that you cause follow with them for the rest of their lives. Your negligence continues to show when you protect administrators like Principal Cummings, Principal McGovern, and Principal Tatelbaum. While you get to go back and hug your kids and tell them how much you love them from your boiling hot thrones that you sit on in Memorial Hills, there are some children that will never get to go back home to their parents. And their spirits will forever be a place they long to come back to, but they cannot. Where's the accountability? There's no sense of urgency to correct these errors, but there always seems to be an immediate sense of urgency to avoid accountability. This is a prime example of what happens when people entrusted with children fail. The consequences are irreversible.
Thank you, Ms. Tabor. Kason Little?
No mother should have to bury their child. And our deepest condolences to you, Evelyn. Imagine being 14 years old, walking into a place that's supposed to support you. Teachers, administrators, you included, Olga. The system itself rejecting you. The district didn't just break policy, it broke a boy's sense of safety, dignity, and belonging. You didn't just violate the law, but a child's peace of mind. IEPs are not optional, but your negligence was. Your continued negligence was. That was a face. There was a face to go with the IEP, and now that face is gone forever. Daniel Isaiah Spencer Diaz didn't just hear it. He felt it. Every word, every glance, every dismissal crushed him. His IEP's federally protected plan was violated, and not accidentally, not a mistake, but blatantly, and by the adults who knew better. Negligence is deadly, and by aiding and abetting this, you proved it. He followed the rules expected of him, but ultimately ended up paying the highest price. 2 security guards watched him leave that meeting. They saw him, a child in distress, and did absolutely nothing. To the guards, you violated your oath to serve because what you did that day was not guard, but become complicit and negligent in this tragedy. When this child was needed protection, you too provided silence. You did not intervene, but observe a tragedy in real time. You had one job, and you used that role to fail a 14-year-old. In that moment, you were no longer security, but a part of the problem. Picture him walking home carrying that weight of rejection, confusion, and heartbreak. He calls his mother not with anger, not with blame, but to tell her he loves her. To tell her she did nothing wrong, to apologize for everything he felt he had done wrong. And then he unfortunately takes his life. This was preventable. Every single step of this tragedy screams failure, failure of care, failure of accountability, failure of humanity. For years, families in Elizabeth have raised alarms about IEP violations in this district, and none of you are on a mandate to combat them. Absolutely none of you. Every year, warnings are ignored, concerns are dismissed, and now a child is gone. These aren't mistakes, but are choices. The board knew about IEP violations for years and let them continue. This is not oversight, but complicity. Teachers who held that meeting, you broke a child. Board of Education members, you enabled it. You turned a blind eye while a federal mandate was ignored. Security guards, you watched a child leave in agony and did nothing. So now I say, long live Daniel Isaiah Spencer.
Thank you. Maria Lorenz?
At the last board meeting, Madam President, you abused your power. You interrupted me 5 times. You didn't like what I had to say. And then you weaponized the police department of Elizabeth to remove, without warning, as you say in your policy. But it's no consequence that you break board policies, right? Because you're also very accustomed to not following IEPs. As a mother myself, I've held this district accountable several times. The first time, when my son Daniel had a heart condition, and you had him running in the gym and no one read the IEP. That was a state complaint. You were advised to do a corrective action plan. The second time, my son was not provided with his FM system. That was another state complaint. That was another CAPA. Again, you failed. Now we hear the story of Daniel. Not my Daniel, someone else's Daniel, who unfortunately, because the BIP in the IEP was not followed, led to a tragedy, a senseless tragedy that could have been prevented had your administrators followed the IEP. IEPs are not optional. They're not suggestions. They are mandatory. They are in place to assist a child. And we hear consistent examples of how you continue to fail our children year over year. It's not just my complaints. If today's translation of that Spanish mother that came here to speak in Spanish, and that interpretation is any indication of the interpretations that you offer in schools, you failed. And I know that you're not translating for parents. I filed the OCR complaint. You got a CAPA for that too. I've been nothing but a staunch advocate in this district that has stood up for parents' rights. You don't have a CPAC that fully functions, you control. You like to control everything, but you can't control this. And you certainly can't control the fact that we have another student that we have to have an unfortunate moment of silence because of your dereliction of duty and your failure. I have filed numerous complaints. Numerous. Let us not forget Emily, who went to school expecting to have her aid and got bit and went viral by Cardi B. Let us not forget Emily. Let us not forget Michael Hunter, who dragged a special needs child through the hallways, and we rewarded him with a job as a janitor that paid more than a security guard. Let us also not forget the student that went to a boiler room because she needed lunch money and wanted to eat. And so
Bianca Gambetta.
If I recall, March 8th was International Women's Day. There was a brunch at Keene University, and there were some board members present, and one of them was presented with some award. In the speech to present her with the award, they named her as an aspiring leader, willing to help her community, and who is willing to open doors for all the girls in this wonderful district. When she received the award, she affirmed that she is there for the students. But that can't be further from the truth. I'm not here to talk about her. I just wanted to state how double-faced she is. On March 2nd, I met with Assistant Superintendent Cedeno, who noted that the current the exam policy, has been in state since 1986, 40 years. That's not a reason to keep it. Progress is something that this district teaches us to value. So why when students try to demonstrate that progress, we are met with a policy older than most of our parents? I want to draw the board's attention to neighboring districts that have adopted more flexible, student-centered approaches to final exams, and what flexibility reflects in their outcomes. Freehold regional high schools exempt seniors with an A- average or above who meet attendance grading requirements. They also apply to AP students who qualify under the same conditions. Roxbury High School exempts any student with a 90% average or higher if you have proven all year that you are mastered at the certain subject. There are no needs for more stress to be added on. Their graduation rate is a 93%. Cranford High School, right here in Union County, ranks 65th in New Jersey, and with a 96 graduation rate. They exempt AP students maintaining an average of 85 and 12th graders with an average of 90, trusting that consistent performance is proof enough. These districts share common belief. Students who demonstrate mastery throughout the year shouldn't be penalized by a high-stakes exam that adds pressure without adding information. Mental health and academic performance aren't in conflict. They are connected. Our superintendent is the instructional leader of this district. the person ultimately responsible for these academic policies. This is exactly the kind of conversation that warrants her direct attention, and I am formally requesting a meeting with her, as I did 7 times. Like I did when I left my phone number, like I did when they asked me for my student ID, like I did when I left my personal email. A 40-year-old policy is not a tradition worth protecting. It's a problem we're solving. The data that supports the change, there's students that are asking for change. The only question is whether if this board is willing to lead it.
Thank you. Jennifer Devia.
Hello. Last month, my heart was shattered when I learned that we lost a young student in our district. As more information came to light, that heartbreak turned into anger, because this was not unavoidable, this was preventable. This young man, Daniel, had an IEP in place, legally required supports that were meant to protect him. Those protections were not followed. Let me absolutely be clear. When a school fails to follow a student's IEP, it's not a minor oversight, it is a failure of duty. And in this case, this failure had fatal consequences. This is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern of negligence under this administration, a repeated failure to protect the most vulnerable students in your care. I attended Daniel's wake. I saw a 14-year-old child in a coffin, someone who should still be here. I saw a mother completely shattered. And today, I witnessed something I cannot ignore. Olga Hugelmeyer walked past this grieving mother, refused to acknowledge her, refused to make eye contact, and instead chose to stand there and congratulating another parent and child right next to a mother who had just buried her son. This is not just insensitive, this is an insult. But it did not stop there. Right now, in this very meeting, I watched Daniel's mother find the strength to stand up and speak, heartbroken, advocating for her child, reliving the worst pain a parent can endure. And as she spoke, Olga Hugelmeyer looked away, ignoring what Daniel's mother was saying. She could not look at a grieving mother while she spoke about her child. Yet, she had no problem maintaining eye contact when she was congratulating another child, something that in itself was completely inappropriate to do beside a mother in mourning. That contrast is not accidental, it is telling. It shows a complete lack of compassion, accountability, and basic human decency. Your silence is not neutral. Your avoidance is not harmless. When mandated protections are ignored, when systems failed and a child is lost as a result, you do not get to look away. You do not get to act as if it's business as usual. This district failed Daniel, and the weight of that failure does not disappear just because you refuse to acknowledge it. And it sits here, it's visible, and it demands accountability from every single one of you. We want justice for Daniel.
Carlos Villavicenzo Novio.
Good evening.
Good
Last
evening.
month, the community spoke about the concerns happening in our city. I honestly had hope. I thought maybe that meant that this board would finally speak about what families in this district are going through. What left me befuddled was listening to the board discussion and hearing that snow and life touch photography are the only major concerns in this community. Meanwhile, families in this community are living in fear. Children are worried about whether their families will still be together when they come home from school. Your silence and denials tells immigrant parents that the fear they carry every day is not important enough to be acknowledged here. It tells students that the trauma affecting their homes and their neighborhoods is somehow separate from their education. And it's disappointing because this board is always ready to show up when it's time to celebrate culture, community, and diversity. That is what makes this so bothersome. Because leadership is not just when showing up during the easy moments, such as the Read Across America photo ops. Leadership is about speaking when it gets uncomfortable. Leadership is about being clear when people need guidance. Leadership is about making sure families know that they are not alone. Right now, many families do not have that from this board, and that should be concerning to everyone. What is crazy that 3 of you are running for city council in the ward I live in. So I have to ask, how can you be the face and voice of the community if you don't even speak up for the most vulnerable? One of you was called out for being on the phone, and the response that they received was getting defensive. So that's the reaction, that's what gets a reaction, right? You getting called out for being on the phone. Where is that same energy when it comes to standing up for my community? Leadership isn't a title you run for, it's a responsibility you show and prove every day.
Thank you. Thank you to all the public speakers tonight. At this time, I close the public comment portion of this meeting.